Have you ever wondered why intelligent, educated, and experienced people still sometimes make serious mistakes in their decisions? It could be a career choice they later regret, a failed investment, or a broken relationship, even though they had good intentions from the start. The problem is often not a lack of intelligence or effort. Instead, they are viewing the situation through an inaccurate mental model of the system they are part of. In a world that is becoming increasingly complex and rapidly transformed by technology and AI, the ability to recognize the hidden patterns behind events is an incredibly valuable advantage. This is the foundation of systems thinking. To understand what systems thinking is, imagine a firefighter standing in front of a large fire. While most people only see the flames and try to stay away, the firefighter notices the important signals hidden within the smoke. The color, density, and direction of the smoke all provide clues about what is happening inside. Systems thinking works in much the same way. It is the ability to recognize the patterns and connections hidden beneath surface-level events. Instead of focusing only on outcomes, you learn to understand the causes and mechanisms that create those outcomes. If systems thinking is so important, why do so many people struggle to apply it? The first reason is that they do not realize what type of system they are operating in, so they often use the wrong approach to solve problems. The second reason is that incentives and rewards can lead people to act in ways that contradict the system's original goals. The third reason is that many systems have very slow feedback loops, meaning the consequences may not appear until months or even years later. These factors make it much harder to see the bigger picture. Have you ever experienced a situation like this in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insights on thinking, learning, and personal growth. To start thinking with a systems mindset, you need to develop the habit of asking the right questions. Instead of focusing on a single event, look at the factors behind it. First, identify the components that exist within the system. Next, understand how those components are connected and influence one another. Finally, pay attention to patterns or outcomes that keep repeating over time. When you can recognize recurring patterns, you begin to understand the root causes, instead of merely dealing with the symptoms of a problem. This is the first step toward making wiser and more effective decisions in life. The first type of system is a clear system. In this kind of system, the relationship between cause and effect is easy to recognize. If you follow the correct steps, you can almost accurately predict the outcome. A recipe is a classic example. When you use the right ingredients and follow the proper process, you will create the dish as intended. Tasks such as surgery, operating machinery, or flying an aircraft also rely on clear systems. In these situations, the most important factor is not creativity, but following established procedures and using checklists to minimize errors. Unlike a clear system, a complicated system is one in which cause and effect are still connected, but the relationship is not immediately obvious. To understand the situation, you need deeper analysis or the help of people with the right expertise. For example, when a patient experiences chest pain, there may be many different underlying causes. Similarly, choosing a mortgage, creating a financial plan, or diagnosing a medical condition all fall into the category of complicated systems. In these situations, acting too quickly often leads to mistakes. The best approach is to slow down, gather information, and seek guidance from the right experts. The third type of system is a complex system. These are situations where the relationship between cause and effect only becomes clear after events have already unfolded. Even highly experienced experts cannot accurately predict what will happen. Examples include merging two companies, implementing AI technology within an organization, or raising a child. These are all complex systems. What works today may no longer work tomorrow. Therefore, Instead of searching for a perfect plan, you need to continuously experiment, observe the results, and adjust your approach along the way. If you find these insights helpful, take a second to like the video. It helps the channel continue creating more valuable content for you. The final type of system is a chaotic system. These are situations where the relationship between cause and effect is almost impossible to identify in the present moment. Information changes constantly. Events unfold at an overwhelming pace, and no one knows exactly what will happen next. Major crises, natural disasters, serious accidents, or unexpected business disruptions often fall into this category. In a chaotic system, the biggest mistake is spending too much time analyzing the situation in search of a perfect answer. Instead, you need to act immediately to stabilize the situation, reduce risks, and create safety before beginning to investigate the deeper causes. At this point, we can summarize the 4 types of systems in the simplest way possible. In a clear system, cause and effect are easy to identify, so you simply need to follow established procedures and use checklists. In a complicated system, the answer exists, but it requires analysis or expert knowledge to uncover it. In a complex system, no one can predict exactly what will happen, so you need to run small experiments and continuously adapt. Finally, in a chaotic system, the most important thing is to act quickly to stabilize the situation before anything else. When you correctly identify the type of system you are dealing with, you can respond more effectively and avoid many unnecessary mistakes. In real life, problems do not come with labels telling us what type of system we are dealing with. That is why the author introduces the DART framework as a practical tool for diagnosing situations more effectively. The letter D stands for deconstruct, which means breaking a problem down into smaller, more observable parts. A stands for analyze, which involves understanding the relationship between cause and effect. R stands for recognize, meaning identifying familiar patterns based on past experience. Finally, T stands for test, which means running small experiments before making major decisions. DART helps you approach problems systematically rather than relying on emotions or guesswork. One of the most profound lessons of systems thinking is realizing that every system you participate in is quietly influencing the way you think, act, and grow. Your work environment, social circle, daily habits, and even the content you consume online are all shaping you in ways you may not even notice. The challenge is that when we are inside a system, it is often difficult to see the direction in which it is leading us. That is why regularly reflecting on yourself and evaluating your situation objectively is so important. When you understand how a system is influencing you, you give yourself a much better chance of changing course before it is too late. If you want to understand where a system is leading you, you need to find ways to observe it from the outside. According to the author, there are 3 especially useful tools. The first is mentors people with more experience and a more objective perspective who can point out things you may not notice yourself. The second is data. Real numbers related to results, performance, or habits often reveal the truth more accurately than personal feelings. The third is time. By comparing yourself to who you were a month, a year, or several years ago, you can clearly see whether you are making progress or falling behind. These 3 factors help you see the bigger picture and make better adjustments along the way. To illustrate the power of systems thinking, the author shares a personal story from his own life. When he was younger, he believed he was pursuing a meaningful life and genuinely wanted to help others. However, he later realized that his true motivations were not entirely what he had assumed. Part of him was actually trying to escape his own fears and personal struggles. It was through the guidance of mentors, honest friends, and objective feedback that he was able to see the truth more clearly. The lesson is that we do not always understand ourselves as well as we think we do, which is why we must remain open to perspectives and insights from outside our own point of view. One of the most common mistakes in human thinking is believing that every choice comes down to only two opposing options. We often assume we must choose between quality and quantity, speed and carefulness, profit and value. However, systems thinking shows that many limitations are actually limitations of system design, not limitations of reality itself. The author uses Apple as a classic example. The company creates products that are widely considered premium, while also producing them on a massive global scale. This demonstrates that we do not always have to choose one option over the other. Sometimes, the better solution is to design a system that allows both goals to be achieved at the same time. After everything we have discussed, the most difficult system to change may not be a business, a technology, or society itself. It may be the system of beliefs within your own mind. The stories you tell yourself, the limitations you accept, and the thoughts you repeat every day are all shaping your future. The good news is that no system is permanent. Like any other system, the way you think can be observed, adjusted, and redesigned for the better. When you change your internal system, you gradually change your actions, your results, and ultimately your life. And if you enjoy content about thinking, learning, and personal growth, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and join us for future videos.